Well, good morning, everyone. My name is James Gallagher. I'm the Assembly Republican leader, and legislative Republicans are gathered here this morning to remind the California public that it has now been 100 days since the governor and the Democrats here in Sacramento promised California consumers relief on gas prices. 100 days is far too long. But at 100 days, we are still waiting with no relief in sight, fighting over $400 or $200 that they'll send to you. And that's not enough. We need action now. We've been calling since January to suspend the gas tax. The quickest, easiest way to provide relief to every California consumer on gas prices right now. In fact, if we had done it when we called for it at the beginning of the year, everyone would have saved over $2,400 right now. And now, to add insult to injury, because of the inaction in July, the gas tax will go up yet again, making it increasingly harder for California consumers who are dealing with Bidenflation, the highest costs in a generation. So we demand action now. And next up, I'd like to invite my colleague, Assemblymember Suzette Valladares.
Thank you and good morning. My colleagues and I are here on behalf of millions of struggling families and workers to remind Governor Newsom that it has been nearly 100 days since he promised he would bring Californians relief from the highest gas prices in the nation. California's current gas tax is 51 cents per gallon. And sadly, because the majority party refused to act, on July 1st, this tax will increase to 54 cents. At a time when we have the highest gas prices, not only in the nation, but in U.S. history, we need real solutions that will ease the burden on families, not increase the load. The governor needs to lead, to put political agendas aside and support the needs of the people. He has introduced proposals. Republicans have introduced proposals. Even the Bipartisan Problem Solvers Caucus has introduced a bill that ensures the gas tax cut will go directly to consumers. And yet, we see no action from the majority in leadership and in the legislature, or any sense of urgency from the governor. My district is a commuter district in Los Angeles where the average price of gas is $6.50. And that's for 87 octane. I'm also a working mom with lots of working mama friends, and I hear their frustrations and their concerns about the price of gas every single day. They're struggling. They're sharing tips on how to save money. Inflate your tires, what time of the day to fill up. Fill up when your tank is half full. But the tips aren't enough. The cost of a tank of gas in my district is equivalent to 5 cans of baby formula, or roughly 2 weeks of feedings. I know single moms are choosing to only fill up half of their tanks so they can make sure they have the money for baby formula. This is heartbreaking. Manny in my district installs floors. He's spending $150 to fill up his tank twice a week. He needs a truck to work. He doesn't have the luxury of being able to use, yet alone afford, an electric vehicle. He's even spent the night in his truck to save money on the commute. Also in my district, my alma mater, California State University Northridge, go Matadors, where 49% of students commute to CSUN. One student said that they are sometimes spending $200 a week on gas to get to school. And guess what? Sometimes he skips class because he can't afford to get there. These are real people who are struggling and need real solutions. Families are being forced to make tough financial decisions as the state's coffers are overflowing with cash. The failure to act by the governor and the majority leadership is heartless. If we had suspended the gas tax months ago, like Republicans pushed for, we would have saved families hundreds of dollars at the pump by now. We have real opportunity to help Californians by passing simple legislation to suspend the gas tax for a year, providing much needed relief to families. However, we also have a solution for a stopgap. We should put our historical $97 billion surplus budget to work and put a portion of it towards our gas tax money where it usually goes, building out infrastructure. It would only cost a fraction of the state's extra funds. We can continue with needed construction and rehabilitation projects while giving relief at the pump and helping those who can least afford the increase. The price of crude oil is only going to rise globally, which is why we need to move California towards energy independence and increase cleaner, native California production. We need to question how the governor's gas relief proposals are impacting our most vulnerable communities. How are people who do not have access to public transportation supposed to get by? How are older Californians living on fixed incomes supposed to get by? Many of us saw these results coming, but still, it's no less disappointing to see the consequence of terrible choices made by the majority party. I am here today because for 100 days, we have seen no action from Democrats on immediately taking off 51 cents a gallon. It doesn't have to be this way, and I urge the governor and the legislature to take 50 cents off now for struggling families.
Thank you, Assemblymember. And those heartbreaking stories are exactly why we need to take action now. Next, I'd like to invite up my colleague, Assemblymember Lori Davies.
Thank you all for coming today. Yet again, Governor Newsom and Sacramento Democrats have set another terrible record for the state. This week, we will reach 100 days since they promised Californians relief from soaring gas prices. On Saturday, the statewide average price for regular gas was $6.43, according to AAA. As of last weekend, we were the only state with an average price higher than $6. To put this in perspective, California's gas prices are already 50 cents higher than just 1 month ago. And if you look back to 1 year ago, we are already over $2 more a gallon. People cannot afford to keep up with this escalating rate. Republicans have put forward solutions again and again this year, with our last attempt being a bipartisan solution that would suspend the gas tax for a year. The Sacramento Democrats managed to pass an entire budget on Monday with no mention of gas price reliefs for Californians. Remember, these are your tax dollars, and they're using them for their own agenda. Unfortunately, relief is not on their agenda. Even the governor was upset that there was no relief in this package. So my questions for my Democratic colleagues in the legislature are, what do you think these rising costs will do to our small businesses? What will this do to the ability to create good paying jobs? Ultimately, how do you think this will affect our already strained supply chain? Higher prices at the pump mean not only less spending money in consumers' pockets, but also expanding costs for companies. 5 other states have recently suspended their tax, including New York, to help lower transportation costs. Why is it that Sacramento Democrats always talk about California leading the nation, yet in this aspect, we are so far behind? I'm calling on my colleagues in this legislature and for the governor to act before even another day passes by without a real solution in hand. We need to take action. California deserves better.
Thank you, Assemblymember Davies. 100 days is totally unacceptable. And I can tell you in both houses, we are united in this message. And so next, I'd like to invite over from the Senate, Senator Brian Jones.
Good morning. I'm Senator Brian Jones, the chairman for the Senate Republican Caucus. Gas is too damn high. I've seen gas prices that are higher than the federal minimum wage. Californians should know that there is a way for immediate relief at the pump, but their government is too greedy to stop taxing them. It's been 100 days since Sacramento Democrats promised to give us gas relief, and there's still no action. The state has a nearly $100 billion surplus, and suspending the gas tax for a year would cost less than 10% of that surplus. The best Capitol Democrats could come up with is a $200 refund that is months away from being sent out, if it ever gets sent out at all. Even President Biden is talking about a federal gas tax holiday. With the gas tax set to increase in just a few weeks, Californians will know who to thank for when the gas prices start shattering records. And I just want to say in closing a quick thing to the media, to the reporters, and to the editorial writers in the state of California, and to the voters. Do not accept excuses from the governor and the Democrats that this is too hard to do. This is not hard to do. As a matter of fact, earlier in this year, when the UC Berkeley needed a CEQA exemption to build more housing, these two houses and the governor worked together, Democrats and Republicans and the governor, to pass a CEQA exemption in less than 7 days and put it into law. There is no excuse that the gas tax has not been suspended since March. And we could do it right now in less than 7 days if the Democrats and the governor would meet us here on this issue. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Senator. Great point. 7 days. When they really want to do something, they can do it, versus 100 days. 100 days is totally unacceptable. So next, I'd like to invite up another colleague of ours from the Senate, Senator Rosalisi Ochoa Bogue.
Good morning. When is it enough? When even more of my constituents can't afford to buy groceries to put on the table. When their already costly commute to work becomes even more unbearable. When family members have to make the tough decision about who is going to take on the second job to work nights or max out their credit cards in order to make ends meet. We must provide financial relief to all Californians, everywhere, with an immediate suspension of the gas tax before it increases even further on July 1st. It is too dire to wait any longer. We're already seeing the ripple effect of the current gas tax increases in our food, housing, and in the cost of doing business. Businesses will have no choice but to raise their costs in order to absorb these increases, as there's no relief for them. This is going to spiral even further out of control over the next few months, disproportionately affecting the most vulnerable in our communities. Our entry-level wage workers, our seniors on fixed income, individuals with disabilities, our single parents, among so many others. The rising cost of inflation will affect individuals by much more than the amount that they have been promised on the current budget. Californians, we hear you. Please join us as we ask the legislature and the governor to act now to prioritize Californians and their quality of life. Ahora en español. ¿Cuándo va a ser suficiente? ¿Cuándo vamos a decir basta, ya no más? ¿Cuándo aún más de mis constituyentes que no pueden hacer sus compras o poner comida sobre la mesa? ¿Cuándo su commutar al trabajo, que ya es costoso, se vuelve aún más inaguantable? Cuando las parejas tengan que tomar la difícil decisión de quién de los dos va a tomar el segundo trabajo para trabajar de noche o agotar sus tarjetas de crédito para poder tener suficiente dinero para sobrevivir. Debemos brindar alivio financiero a los californianos en todas partes con una suspensión inmediata del impuesto a la gasolina antes de que aumente el 1 de julio. Es demasiado grave para seguir esperando. Ya estamos viendo el efecto dominó de los aumentos actuales del impuesto de la gasolina en los costos de nuestros alimentos, vivienda y en el costo de hacer negocios. Los negocios no tendrán más remedio que aumentar sus costos para absorber estos aumentos, ya que no hay alivio para ellos. Esto se descontrolará aún más en los próximos meses y afectará de manera desproporcionada a las más vulnerables de nuestra comunidad. Nuestros trabajadores de nivel de entrada, nuestros adultos mayores con ingresos fijos, personas con discapacidades y nuestros padres solteros, entre muchos más. El costo creciente de la inflación afectará a las personas mucho más de lo que se prometió en el presupuesto actual. Californianos, les oímos. Únanse a nosotros para pedirle a la legislatura y al gobernador que actúen ahora y den prioridad a ustedes. Gracias.
Thank you, Senator. And so we stand united. Republicans stand united with the people of California, calling for gas price relief now. 100 days has been completely unacceptable. And to the Democrats, stop the delays, stop the infighting, stop the excuses. 100 days is far too long, and the people of California demand gas price relief now. We're prepared to give it to them. We hope that they'll join us. Thank you, and we'd be happy to answer any questions that the media may have. So the question was, have we gotten some more support from Democrats? Now, there is a bipartisan measure to suspend the gas tax, which some Democrats have joined us in, but not nearly enough to get to a majority, and that's the problem. So we're encouraging the Democrats, the legislative leadership, the governor could weigh in on this and call for it as well. Without them, making that move, we're still stuck with no relief for Californians. Well, look, I think everybody would agree at this point. The California public would completely agree at this point. $400, $200, that's nothing. That's maybe a week's worth of gas for many people who are commuting, for people who have to drive a truck for a living. This is not relief. That's not relief for people when we're facing the highest costs in a generation. But they can't even figure it out if they want to give you $200 or $400. So that's the problem, right? And we think that, the easiest way to give everybody relief right now, and by the way, let's avoid another increase in the gas tax, come July 1, is to just suspend the gas tax now. We have the budget. To me, it's immoral that we're sitting on $98 billion of your taxpayer dollars while people are dealing with the highest costs in a generation. Let's do something about that. Give people their money back. Let's help people in these tough times. It's not a hard thing to do. It's a very easy thing to do, and they can do it if they have the will. Sure.
I wanted to address the question about our Democrats joining us. That's a pretty tricky question because one-on-one in the hallways, they'll tell us that they want to do something. But for some reason, as a group, they can't come to terms with getting something done. So I would encourage all of you to reach out to their offices individually and ask them individually where they stand on this issue of suspending the gas tax or even doing the rebate. We're going to support whatever relief comes to Californians. But the Democrat legislators need to be held accountable to this and come to the table as well in a public forum, not just in the hallways with us individually one-on-one. So I encourage you all to reach out to them, each office individually, and ask them where they stand on this. Thank you.
As the good senator just pointed out, they did CEQA reform for UC Berkeley in 7 days. Believe me, if they wanted to do it, they can make it happen. The problem is, 72 hours, as Senator Dowley just pointed out. 72 hours they made this happen, right? So when they want to do something, they can do it. And certainly the governor, if he would come out and say, I support suspending the gas tax, that would certainly push things along. But as of right now, he has not. The most he's offering is $400. I think a lot of people are not happy with that.
Let's just be really clear. We're under a state of emergency. If the governor really cared about people in California, he would immediately do an executive order and we would drop the gas tax. He wants to hand out money, whether it's $200 or $400, but at the end of the day, that's going to cost money to actually print the checks and send them out. You immediately drop the gas tax, it drops the cost of a gallon of gas, and it also drops the cost of a gallon of milk, a loaf of bread, because all that is transferred by trucks to the stores. So it's a double win if you drop the gas tax, because you're getting it at the store and you're getting it at the pump as well.
Well, again, we proposed this in January. So if this would have been passed, earlier in the session when it could have been done as an urgency measure, there's going to be some lag time, but not nearly as long as it takes to print out checks and send them out to every taxpayer through the rebate process. We can do this. We suspend the gas tax, maybe a couple of weeks before everybody realizes that, right? So and that's instant savings. And if we had done it when we called for it, people would already have saved money, during these high inflationary times. So I don't think that's a good excuse if that's the one they're using. Again, all I hear is excuses from the Democrats about why they won't do something. The LAO also did report that this was the best way to get relief to all Californians. Well, one of the measures, the problem solvers measure that we tried to push forward just a few weeks ago on the floor, has a provision in it that would prohibit them from doing so. So again, that's another excuse that the Democrats like to use, that somehow it's not going to get passed on to taxpayers. But by the way, that has not happened in all of the other states who have suspended the gas tax. The consumer has really realized that savings at the gas pump, even in blue states. Like New York, for instance. So look, it's something that we can do, and they need to stop making excuses. Okay, thank you, and we will be here if people want to do individual questions or interviews. Thank you for being here this morning.